hope that the students feel a sense of accomplishment. I hope they feel proud about what they created. I hope they feel like they, really can do anything.
I want to dance for the rest of my life because I've been doing it up until now, so I still want to do it forever.
You taught me this in Dance 1, that dance is like a universal language.
And over time, I've really realized that my role here has become not necessarily teaching them about the art form of dance, but using dance as a way to understand yourself in the world. And when you understand yourself, then you are able to do more.
So I can say personally, the connection you have with your students and that you want them to do better. You want them to push. You don't want them to fall under any category. You want them to push forward, and her sense of being a community, I'm about to cry. You can really see that, you want to be a community and you push for that. You push for your students so they can have a community. I told you dance ensemble is family. So you push for that. You push for the family. You push for us being together, even though times may be hard, the being there, present in time and space, was really something that I appreciate.
Life is gonna go back to normal, and what you gonna do when you look back from 4 years in high school and you didn't still push yourself?
Enjoy the moments, enjoy what you have, be here, be grateful for what you have, because we couldn't have done this, we didn't have to do this, or we were probably wouldn't be able to do this.
COVID kind of makes you do things you don't want to do, or forces you outside of your comfort zone a little bit.
Be open, be different. It's okay to not just think everything's gonna be one way. It's okay to change.
I grow every day, so it's not like I'm just stuck in one position. I've learned a lot about myself through this whole experience.
It takes confidence to be a leader, to be able to step out in front of people and say, this is the way that this should be done. Because you have to be able to take criticism from people that doing that as well, because everyone's looking to you.
If you ask for things, if you are open and you're willing to put yourself out there just a little bit, that things will come to you.
Challenges do not change who you are. They reveal who you are. And what this has revealed is that during this time of great challenge, creativity still happens. Creativity still emerges. And that has been a very cool thing. So this challenge has not changed who we are, it's just revealed who we are.
I used to get calls all the time from people asking me about the station. What kind of music do you play? And the canned format was adult album alternative. And so I asked the music director, what does that actually mean? And he said, we play the good stuff. That was the end of his explanation.
Well, AAA music is heavy on the singer-songwriters and the Americana, but we also include blues music, jazz, other styles like world music.
It's not the same songs every other hour. And in 90.5's case, it's not even the same songs each week.
WCB is pretty unique with all the variety of music that we can play and the variety of shows that we have.
We've had John Prine, Ziggy Marley, Warren Haynes from the Allman Brothers. We have had Tedeschi Trucks. The list goes on and on.
The thing that we have at WCBE is experts in music that know where the good stuff is.
Homemade, locally produced programming is what we're all about, and just sort of sitting there and grooving out in a radio station, knowing that I'm doing the same thing with thousands of listeners across the state. I really dig that. I dig that sort of concept.
We're all over the map. It's great music. People that go, oh, I listen to everything. If you listen to everything, all you need to do is listen to us.
I actually have a heavy interest in music. I really love music, and like as soon as I got into this classroom, I just fell in love with music. And it's something that always pushed me. I listen to it every day. It drives me. And I talked with my mom, and she told me that like my family background is music heavy on my mom and dad's side. So that it makes total sense on like how quick I'm able to pick it up. I find enjoyment out of watching videos and seeing other producers produce and just the different sounds they bring to the producer community. So I just use that, and I try to be as versatile as possible.
I didn't even know he was a basketball player because I didn't even know like he was tall because everyone's on the same little size screen. I did get to know him as a music producer, and he would make great beats and very interesting, unique sounding beats. Like not just the same loops other people were using, but different loops, making his loops, chopping his loops in different innovative ways, just having a whole unique sound.
I like beats that have very good bounce and weird bounces. So I like unusual beats that have weird sounds in them. But if it sounds good, then I like it. How I'm feeling and how I want other people to feel or react to my music. Just like human interaction with the music, basically, is what drives me. Because a lot of times when I produce my music, it's based off how I'm feeling in the moment, and you will see that through my music.
See me proud of what I did one day, I'm gonna be proud of my kids. I know what I'm making for the times that I live, ain't done, can't go out like this. Hopefully I climb to the top, but listen, be proud of what I did as a kid. My parents gonna be proud of what I did,
Sierra is a young lady in my junior class this year, and I'm really excited to have her in the class because she has such tremendous potential. She's a real go-getter. She has multiple talents. She can sing, she can produce, she has good studio prowess, and that's something that's actually kind of hard to teach. She was always, it was always obvious that she was very talented. But she has been performing a lot more and has just matured as a performer and as a musician. She's been performing at Eastmore High School, she's been performing here at Fort Hays, and she's been performing around the city with different organizations, and I'm really looking forward to what she's going to do next year as a senior.
I'm saying this because my emotions are heavy, and I promise that I'll keep this steady. Oh.
I have learned a lot about production. I know a lot about performing arts and like the front stage of performing. So I want to learn the backstage of it. So like production, how to mix and stuff, so I can like do my own music at home, the mixing part, and like so I can collaborate with my dad, who also mixes my music.
When we want to find solutions, critical thinking is essential. It's problem solving by thinking outside of the box.
It's a new way of learning, and it's the wave of the future.
It's not your traditional educational experience anymore. You walk into classrooms and they're noisy and kids are engaged and they are taking on real problems in their own community and solving them.
They had an opportunity to come together with Mayor Ginther, and he came to them to problem solve and to really think about some of the big issues that are happening in the city and how can we solve them.
If we can keep that passion going, if we can keep the vision going for these children, then they're going to be able to tackle really whatever comes their way in the future. I get really excited when I think about that.
We guide our children to have independent thinking, critical thinking. They can analyze the information. They can think about what's right, what's wrong.
It's connecting the classroom to the community and making our students active change agents.
A large part is our students' attitude. It's how they approach challenges and overcome them. Challenges don't have to be scary or uncomfortable. They can be exciting and rewarding to overcome.
We're always learning things new about science.
I wrote a 20-page research paper, and I enjoyed it. Now that I'm looking back at it, I really enjoyed the entire process, because in the end, I opened my paper and I was like, oh my God, I really wrote this entire 20-page paper. And at first I thought it was gonna be super hard, but just thinking about the process, I fell in love with writing.
And it can be hard to problem solve. So I think that kind of imagining what it might look like and then putting that into real life can really help. But if you make a mistake, it's okay, because mistakes is easy. You can kind of fix it.
There is a real commitment to push them and encourage them and find that niche, find that area that really encourages those students to move forward, to try things, to make mistakes, but to get back up and learn how to do that successfully.
We also want our students to apply critical thinking to themselves. What goals do they have? What do they want to do when they graduate? By thinking about their future early, our students start the process of considering who they aspire to be, beginning in pre-K, and that's exciting.
And so we're looking to really emphasize the idea of Porch Over Graduate starting cradle and ending career.
Having long-term goals and short-term goals help them to realize what is your ultimate purpose, to learn as much as you can to graduate so you can go on to college and whatever else you choose to do, so that you will be ready for the world and you'll be successful with whatever you choose.
That helps them grow as people, because then they can see the world through a more critical lens.
WCBE is a hub for local news and music that acts as an invaluable source of entertainment to the people of Columbus and the surrounding area.
It's Columbus radio at its finest.
I love WCBE. I don't think that there's any radio station quite like it anywhere.
We want to continue to be a pillar in the community, an asset for the Columbus community, especially when it comes to music.
It's a dedication and love of music, of storytelling, and then to sort of combine those two things.
We're getting information out about festivals, things that enrich the public's experience, and again, things that you may not see. I think we're also drawing attention to local issues.
And most importantly, it'll stimulate people's curiosity. It is intended to be an educational experience, and that is what got me involved in radio to begin with.
I really get to spend time educating people on the microphone, and I feel like that's one of the best parts of WCBE.
This is great, right? It's public radio, it's smarter, it's better, care about art, care about people in town.
I love WCBE, and I can't imagine Columbus without it.
When we think about creativity, we're talking about students using their imagination to build something of value. And when our students learn with creativity at the forefront, It opens doors to new ways of approaching challenges.
I just got chills because in all my years in the district, we have not had this level of support for this pathway of learning that speaks to the whole child. Expression in the arts is something that we encourage. Our students have many opportunities to participate in concerts with the bands, strings, orchestra, art exhibitions.
And what's exciting about this attribute is that creativity isn't limited to the arts. It's applicable to everything our students do.
Creativity is about how you think. It's about freedom. You know, it's freedom to challenge the norm.
Everybody's creative in their own way. I feel like even if you don't think you're creative, trust me, you're creative. It kind of relates to like being unique to me because everybody's unique.
I like being creative. Like I love like mixing colors and stuff. I like to be creative because usually I wouldn't show my talents because I'm always shy.
Creativity actually helps a lot with studying. If you're not creative, you're gonna copy other people.
And that's the key. We want our students to come up with their own ideas and their own ways of learning to understand what methods work best for them.
I'm curious, which means I just keep wanting to learn more and more and more and more.
That's where innovation is going to come from. Not from, the folks who've been doing it the same way for the last 30 or 40 years. It is going to come from the newer generation.
How do we set them up? We give them the tools that they need to be able to do whatever it is in life that they want to do.
We have the Adobe suite of products at our disposal now for our students to use at schools and at home to unleash their creativity. I'm so happy we're able to provide the tools finally now so that they can go and unleash it.
When our students use their creativity to build something of value, there's no limit to what we want them to create. It could be artwork, a dance performance, a new business or a new idea, a club or a movement. Value is defined not by who you are, but by who you impact.
It's propelling our students to what's next.
We have to make sure that we open up the doors for creativity. Don't try and change their trajectory. Allow them to be creative, allow them to discover the world.
And that's the power of being a creative person, a creative thinker. I know I can do anything I put my mind to. And I love being who I am.
At the end of the day, the question is why? Why go to all this trouble? Why make changes? Why take a new direction? The answer is simple: love. We are doing this for the love of learning, the love of teaching, love for our students.
One of the, I think, amazing things that have come out of this process is this idea that we will never be normal again, right? We have pushed through to a space of innovation, and we want to keep that and harness that energy.
What has not changed is the dedication and the drive. I mean, that is really why we're here.
What gets me up every morning is the love of students.
We are all about the kids. We put our lives on the line for the kids.
I knew I love you, I love you, I love every single one of you, and I have to continue doing what I'm doing to make sure that you have those opportunities to be successful.
So I feel like that's what created my love for learning, is because I was really close with my teachers and my principals and all of that stuff.
I know she knows that she built me, and I'm always grateful for that.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher so I can teach.
And when you spend time with children, you see potentials and you see the future and you want the best for them.
Our children, our students are always, always the center. And that is what Portrait is helping us do, to keep them the center and define what that looks like.
This is much more than just words on a page. It is a new day. Now is the time to put these words into action for our students, for our community, for us.
It is hard to get that synergy going, where your partners are also hand in hand with you with the same goals, and that we have in Columbus. We're blessed to have that in Columbus.
Now we have the board that will back her up and continue to push and really get us where we need to be so we can be a model of urban education.
At a time when COVID-19 has upended school years and transformed what learning is, how it feels, and what it looks like, I need you to know your graduation is important because we need you.
Yes, this year was tough, but you have proven to us that you're tougher.
Columbus City Schools has gone on to graduate students from Harvard, from Spelman, from Morehouse, from Duke, from OSU.
These students are the future of Columbus.
When people thought that we couldn't, when people said that we wouldn't, we did.
In Columbus City Schools, Portrait of a Graduate is the cornerstone to ensuring our graduates are well equipped to thrive, not only globally, but right here in Central Ohio.
Our work is just beginning, and we look forward to taking this journey together.
I worked in commercial radio for 40 years. When I arrived in the Columbus market, WCBE was my go-to station when I was not producing another radio show for my employer. Don't tell them that. I volunteered my services. 9 years later, I find myself as the general manager for the station that I love, that is near and dear to me.
My name's Mike Taylor, and I'm a radio broadcast specialist. That's what they're calling me these days. A lot of the artists we play will not be played on any other radio station in Central Ohio, maybe not even in the country. So when we find someone we like, we try to get them on the air, we try to get them into Studio A.
My name is Allison Holm. I'm the afternoon news anchor and reporter, and I've been at WCBE for 25 years. We once had, when I was on doing the newscast, we had the monitor start smoking and catch on fire. And I was in the middle of a newscast, and I couldn't stop. And so I had to wait until I had a sound bite and run to the door and shout out, "The studio's on fire!" and then run back in to finish that.
All right, good morning, everyone. I think we're ready to call our meeting to order. So we don't have a quorum in person to vote, so we're going to review these items, really just signifying that we did review them and we had discussion about them and share that with the board. So the first item on our agenda is the approval of the October 20th minutes. I think that's right. Yes, October 20th.
I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
All right, thank you. Should we still vote, Alex?
I wasn't sure when you said we weren't.
Yeah.
I think the answer is going to be no.
Okay.
And we'll bring them through at the next meeting for a formal vote.
Okay. All right. So the first discussion item we have on the agenda is our 2023 calendar of meetings.
All right, great. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So this one's just kind of procedural, but we did want to bring forward the calendar of the expected meeting dates for calendar year 2023 and then January of 2024. No surprises here. So we're recommending continuing our past practice, which has just been to meet the fourth Thursday of the month, with the exception for the Thanksgiving Christmas holiday. And so we're recommending meeting the first Thursday of December, which is December 7th, and then consolidating basically a November and December calendar into that one date. There's always the chance, depending on what's going on with contracting especially, that we might ask for a meeting either in early January or later December if we need to accommodate something, or potentially even move that December 7th meeting. But at least with the information we have right now, this seems like a good calendar for us going forward.
That's good. Thank you for bringing these early.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if there's any specific questions or concerns on that. So if not, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our real presentation today, which is an LEDE spend report. So I know this slide is very small, so don't worry if you can't see it, because it's going to break down into some screens that'll give you a better shot of seeing it. But I just kind of wanted to show you kind of the magnitude and a brief overview of what you're going to see in the next couple slides. So on the left-hand side, you'll see some close-ups here in a second that are going to show you our spend by year. So these are kind of cash out the door, so payments. So it doesn't necessarily reflect contracting. It reflects work complete and payments made. So this is kind of a trailing factor where our contracts in place are going to occur somewhere probably between 6 and 12 months in advance, and payments out the door are going to trail by that same period of time. And then the graph just represents by year how that spend has looked. And so again, I'll zoom into it here in a little bit, but the blue bar shows our total spend. So you see we started very, very modestly back in FY17. We have peaked so far at FY21, and then payments are starting to come down just a little bit. So that blue bar represents our total spend. The red bar indicates our spend with our LEDE prime contractors, LEDE being our local economically and disadvantaged enterprise vendors here registered with CCS. The yellow bar indicates our subcontracting. So those are subcontracts that could be either with LEDE primes or with non-LEDE primes. So those are payments that have been reported to us through those prime contracts. And then the green bar just represents the total of those two LED spend categories together. The other thing I do want to point out across the bottom of the graph, so we tried to show you that we've got multiple sources of funding, and that probably also starts to show why you see that increase, that rise in those payments. So you might remember that back in 2016, our board put on the ballot what we called Operation Fix-It bond issue. It was that $125 million that we spent over 5 years, and so that that spend number really started to ramp up after 2017. So you see the spend starting to pick up in 2018 and 2019. We also then were authorized another $30 million in expenditures as part of what we called the facility task force work. So that's all included in that kind of green bar you see across the bottom, and so that really starts to explain why you see that spike in 2021. And then that's also going to start to align with when we started to make ESSER purchases on HVAC improvements. And so while this graph is showing our FY22 payments starting to diminish, I'm expecting that number is going to spike back up again for 2023 with the volume of work that we completed this summer. But digging into the numbers just a little more in detail. So again, in FY 2017, very modest start. So that bond issue was approved in November of 2016. I don't believe we even had proceeds until maybe January of 2017 that we could start to spend, but we still managed to get $1 million in payments out the door by June 30th of 2017. And of that first just over $1 million in payments that went out, we had LEDE primes in the amount of $8,812, LEDE subcontracting in the amount of $76,000 for a total LEDE spend of just over $85,000. And for FY17, we only had 8.22% LEDE percentage participation. You're going to see, but I'll just point it out, that was our only year where we did not meet the board's goal of 20% LEDE contracting. The numbers since then have all been in excess, sometimes far in excess of the goal, so we're pretty pleased about that. So in FY 2018, our total expenditure was $11.3 million. We had just over, or just shy of $2.1 million in LEDE prime spend, about another $860,000 in LEDE subcontracting for a total LEDE spend of just under $3 million. And we were just over 26% LEDE participation for FY 18. In FY 19, that expenditure really started to grow as our workload really started to ramp up. And so we saw a total payment of just under $36.5 million. Of that amount, about $2.4 million was made to our LEDE prime vendors. Our LEDE subcontracting really started to pick up at this point. We had just under $5.3 million of LEDE subcontracting for a total LEDE spend of about $7.6 million, and we're just under 21% participation for FY 2019. And then we really started to see the numbers in terms of participation pick up for FY 20. So in FY 20, our expenditures started to come down just a little bit. We were just over $26 million in total payments. We were just shy of $4.7 million of LEDE prime spend, just over $5.3 million of LEDE subcontracting for a total LEDE spend that was just under $10 million. And so that was our best effort across the program so far. We were just over 38% LEDE participation for FY 20. For FY 21, our expenditure really ballooned that year. And so again, this is when you started to see the Operation Fix-It work overlap with the Facility Task Force work, and potentially even a little bit of ESSER spend at this point. So a total payments to vendors of $58.7 million. Our LEDE prime spend was just over $5.7 million. Our LEDE subcontracting was about $7.7 million for a total LEDE spend of just under $13.5 million. And for FY 21, we were just shy of 23% LEDE participation. And then for the most recent fiscal year we've completed, which is FY 22, again, our payments started to taper back off again, especially as the Operation Fix-It work wound down, but we were just under $29 million in total contractor payments, just over $4.3 million in LEDE prime spend, about $2.6 million in LEDE subcontracting for a total LEDE spend of just under $7.3 million, and we were just over 25% for FY22. Now again, going back to the graph, I won't go over all the numbers again in detail, but you can kind of see here how those numbers really start to fluctuate. And I do think it really reflects kind of the volume of the work that we've been able to push through across the buildings. And so that represents that Operation Fix-It work, that kind of very nuts and bolts, HVAC upgrades, pavement, roof work. Those were the major categories, but also electrical work, lighting upgrades, safety, secure vestibule upgrades, fire alarm upgrades. It's also overlapped there as you start to run into FY20 and 21 with that facility task force work. So that was those comprehensive renovations of Dominion Middle School at the former North High School, or some people refer to it as Arcadia, as well as the renovations for the new World Language Middle School building, which is the old Dominion building, and the renovations to the old Brookhaven High School, which is now the home for the Global Academy and Columbus International High School. And then again, for FY22, you really start to see the impact of our ESSER funded projects as well. And then, so the last thing we wanted to bring forward is just the totality of everything that we've completed since the beginning of Operation Fix-It. And so I would say this is really kind of the totality of what we call our life cycle renewal work. So it's everything other than facility master plan. And so to date, like these numbers are pretty staggering to me. We have spent just over about $162.5 million. This is total contracting. Although again, remember, we still have payments that are outstanding, certainly for our summer 2022 work. This is only through our fiscal year 22, which wrapped up June 30th of 2022. So this number is certainly going to grow pretty considerably for next year, but already since the inception of Operation Fix-It, we're over $162.5 million in total contracting. We're at about $19.5 million of direct prime LEDE spend. We are at about $21.9 million of LEDE subcontracting for a total LEDE spend just shy of $41.4 million. And then across this entire program, we are tracking at about 25.5% LEDE participation. So again, with the board's goal being 20%, we're pretty pleased with the effort we've been able to bring in with respect to all of these projects. And that is the totality of the presentation that I have for you today. Like I said, for at least for now, I wanted to keep it very high level and see what kind of questions you might have for us in terms of anything that we can bring forward that would be of help in terms of promoting the program and certainly the work to be able to continue to make improvements across our facilities.
Congratulations. This is amazing. I'm very impressed and excited to see these numbers, and certainly the benchmark years where you far exceeded. I was paying a lot of attention in the presentation of the years over the period of the prime and subcontractor, and it looks like that about evens out cumulatively. But I'm curious if you gentlemen have any questions for Alex.
No, but I think, I was looking at the same thing, and it looks like the percentage of participation is growing a little bit greater in the prime, which is what you want, really showing some capacity building, that it's not just relying on the subcontractor market, but also growing the prime. And that's probably a product we hope of people learning more, getting more, having more capital resources to grow their businesses. So that's a nice scene, especially over the last few years. So great.
I appreciate all the comments, the accolades. It's maybe one of the tough thing about running a hybrid meeting where all the team is behind the screen, but all the credit goes to the folks on the screen and a few who are not joining us today. But thank you, we appreciate it. It certainly has been a lot of effort, but it's good to see the positive results.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this. I hope that you'll have an opportunity to share this prime time in the board meeting, because I think this is really a great update for our community at large to hear about the work that you're doing. So I know we have action items that we won't be able to take action on So we'll table taking action on voting for the calendar until our next meeting. But would you like to present the other items just for our review as well?
Indeed. So the team is on the Zoom, and so first up is going to be Ansley, and she's going to present item 4.02, which is award of a general contract to Miles McClellan Construction Company. So I think you heard me mention at the last meeting that we've got two projects that we're incredibly excited about, which are our first really comprehensive school-based health clinics. They're not new partners. There may be new partnerships in terms of the breadth of the services we're planning to provide, working in conjunction with them. So this is this was originally the first project out of the gates. We did stumble a little bit in terms of the bid market. I don't think any real surprises there. It's been a real challenge getting projects brought in on budget, but we've been very fortunate that in combination of the grant that we received from, it's a combination of Ohio Department of Education and Ohio Department of Health, and we've needed to supplement it with our district's own resources through our ESSER allocation, but we've been able to put together enough funding to be able to cover the total cost of this project, and of course work with that design team. And in this case, the partner organization is Primary One Health, to make a few reductions to be able to minimize our costs on the construction side of things. But again, this will be our school-based health clinic. The partner again is Primary One Health, and this will be up at what we still sometimes call our former Brookhaven High School, which is the home for the Columbus Global Academy and Columbus International High School. But with that, I will turn it over to Ansley, and she'll give you all the detail.
Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. It's delayed. So as Alex said, this is going to be our Primary One school-based health clinic at Columbus International High School and Columbus Global Academy that most people know as our Brookhaven site. This just kind of gives you an overview of what Primary One is going to offer at this clinic. They're going to be offering primary care, but they're also going to have some supplemental care. They have a dental suite here and a vision suite, which I think is really exciting for our student population to have access to those services along with kind of their standard primary care. This is just an overview of the clinic floor plan. So you can see here kind of the standard exam rooms, as well as the dental exam here and that optical exam. This is going to have both an entrance from the parking lot, so visitors could come in just to the clinic and not have to enter the school, but it also will have an entrance actually inside of the school building, so students would be able to access from within the facility without having to go around to the exterior. So it'll be really open for our students to be able to come and access the clinic during the school day. Just going to go through the nuts and bolts of the presentation now. So the first thing you see here is a copy of our advertisement that goes in the dispatch. As Alex said, this was a rebid, so we put it back out on the street in middle of September after increasing our estimate. That advertisement drives people to the district page where they see a little bit more information that's shown here. This includes our estimate for the work, what alternates are included, how they can obtain bid documents, and how they can join our district meetings regarding the project. This is the agenda for our pre-bid. Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I got a little bit of a cough.
Use this one moment while
No problem.
Ansley recovers from her sneeze / cough, I think.
Happens to the best of us.
Maybe one of the upsides of a virtual meeting.
So sorry, I just am like working on some allergies and I just have that tickle right in the back of my throat. This just shows you our pre-bid agenda. This is pretty standard for our meetings. It gives people a little bit more information about submitting their bids. Also goes through a little bit about the bid package and some of those default schedules. That includes when we expect it to go to board, when they would expect to see their notice to proceed, and when we're looking for substantial completion. This one was a little strange. We had one alternate for the project, but it wasn't a design alternate. Man.
I'll talk through this one while Ansley's trying to recover still. So it is a great point, but it is worth talking about. So I would think we're still navigating with the grant that came through from the state. There's a pretty hard deadline for when they want these facilities complete and services being provided. Frankly, it's a pretty unrealistic date given.
What's the date?
I'm gonna let.
Oh, sorry.
I'll let Ansley give the date because I don't know if I know the exact date, but
Okay.
but the concept behind why we ran the alternate. So we asked our consultant, which in this case was Moody Nolan, to give us what they thought was a realistic completion date for the construction, based on the feedback they get from our vendors. Because we know one of the other challenges right now is supply chain. Like, you can tell people you have to be complete by a certain date, and that is just, I mean, usually it just costs you more. In today's environment, it's oftentimes just not possible. And so what we did in this case was we ran the project with the base bid for what our consultant told us was a reasonable completion date for the work, and we ran an alternate for an expedited schedule to meet the date that was determined by ODE, ODH. And I'll let Ansley fill in, but I think all the bidders declined to even put a number to it.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so part of the rationale there is, like, so I assume there's a discussion that'll need to be had with the grantees. I don't guess we're the only entity in this position, but we felt like it would position us in a much stronger way to say, look, we have done everything we can to meet your expectation, and it certainly was our hope, but it's not possible.
Yeah, so the grant deadline was March 1st. And I think we could have hit that if we had made the first bid, but what we heard from subcontractors and prime contractors was mostly on the equipment side, they just weren't going to be able to get the equipment to open the clinic for that March 1st date. So our substantial completion date now is May 1st, 2023.
Okay.
And they thought it seemed like it was mostly HVAC that was still like 30 weeks out. So just that March 1st date wasn't going to work even if they ran second shifts, because they wouldn't have the heating and cooling that they needed to kind of finish their trades work.
And just, I'll give Ansley maybe a few more moments to make sure she's recovered to complete the presentation. But, you know, so some of the things, and I'm not making any commitments either on behalf of the partner, because Primary One Health will need to make some decisions about how they handle their business side of things as well. But I do know we've had discussions, and I think they are prepared to come in and provide things like mobile services, or services in some other kind of non-traditional way if they need to meet the intent of, I mean, they want to provide services as soon as they can as well. So there's still a negotiation we'll need to have there with ODE, ODH, but we feel pretty good about our position.
Okay.
Thanks for stepping in there, Alex. Our next thing, this is just a sign-in sheet from that pre-bid. I think we had participation in total from 5 firms between the pre-bid and the walkthrough, and we received bids from 3 of those 5 firms. You can see that here on our bid tab. Miles McClellan, Setterlin, and Trimble were our 3 bidders. The low bidder was Miles McClellan at just over $1.2 million. And you can also see, as Alex alluded to here, we did not receive any bids for that alternate, as noted in the comments section here. And you can see no prices in that alternate 1 column. And Moody Nolan was just a little bit over our estimate of 1.15. They were about 5% over. So awardable, but a little bit over our estimate. This is our architect Moody Nolan recommendation letter recommending Miles for the project. We held a post-bid evaluation and found that they had all the scope included and feel comfortable recommending them for this contract. This is their legislation. We're showing that $1.2 million contract amount. This is their working contract. We're using our standard general contract for this project. And their LADE Form A. Miles McClellan is an LADE prime. At this point, they do not have LADE subcontractors listed for the project. They are still working to finalize their subcontractor list, so they were hoping to add some LADE subcontractors, but they didn't have any that they felt confident they would be moving forward with at the time of the bid. And this just shows Terry Wise has approved that LADE plan at this point. Any questions I can answer on Miles McClellan's award for the school-based health clinic at Columbus International, Columbus Global Academy?
Just a couple additional just kind of commentary. It feels like it has been at least 10 years that we have been talking around the idea of these school-based health clinics. It's kind of serendipity how it happened that we were able to get ourselves to this place that we can get 2 of them under contract in the same calendar year. So incredibly excited at the opportunity. Everything I hear, see, experience tells me that these concepts of wraparound services are going to be absolutely essential, critical to our students and our families' success. And so I expect that they're going to play very hard in our facility master plan work. And so I think having this experience in our older buildings where we can afford to make a few mistakes, because I'm sure we are not going to have hit it out of the ballpark on these first 2 projects. Just the concept is too new to our organization. So I think it's incredibly important and so valuable for us to have these 2 first school-based health clinics where we can figure out exactly what is going to work. And again, I'm sure we'll have to do some retooling, rework a few ideas, but hopefully we'll have a much better idea of what it is that our students, our families, our staff need, so that when we're ready to build that first new building and incorporate a school-based health clinic, we'll have some of our own real-world experience we can wrap into it. So I think that's just an incredibly important and valuable opportunity for us, because we should have at least a couple quarters, if not a full year of operation with these 2 sites that we can really bring into that facility master plan work.
I would just thank you, Ainsley and Alex, for sharing this project. Certainly, I know from a community perspective and my day job how important this work is, and I'm excited to see this happen for sure. And I appreciate you adding that note as well, Alex. I think what is interesting to me is just kind of the program operation. So when we think about our schools, our primary business is to educate pre-K to 12. But the secondary function, I think, of schools are really as community anchors. And so adding clinics that have external entrances and internal entrances for the students start to open a question around overall kind of community benefit. Right now, I think it makes sense to serve the students. I can say with lots of experience that you're right, Alex, our young people need this service. They are foregoing healthcare, their families, for a myriad of reasons, but having it on site, I think, is going to be just a critical opportunity for them to take advantage of. I am curious, and if you don't know the answer to this, because I saw this call go out from ODH, and I would say major kudos to ODH and ODE for being collaborative in this way and creating opportunities like this for school districts like ours. But I'm curious from a Columbus City Schools perspective, how did we land on these 2 buildings? Is it just the repositioning of those 2 buildings? Was it just kind of random, like we had space? Did the partners approach and say, we want to be on this side of town? Do you have any insight into the kind of program design?
Oh, Autumn, I was such a great question, one I'm actually very prepared to answer, so
Okay.
I appreciate the question. So when I said we've been talking about this for at least 10 years, I'm not joking. So there is definitely some intentionality behind the sites that were selected, but there was also opportunity. And so we did not end up moving forward with the plans we had on the shelves, but we literally had plans on the shelves for both of these sites where we had kind of jointly pitched with other partners the potential for these school-based health clinics. So in the case of the Fort Hays site, we had already worked with, and I won't mention the partners since that didn't come to be, but we had talked about doing a vision clinic as kind of rolling it into the services we already provided our Central Enrollment Center. So we had already talked about the potential to offer more services at that site. Obviously, we have a lot of space at Fort Hays. What we don't have is the program, frankly, or the resource to renovate some of those additional buildings to make them functional again. So Obviously, with the location of Fort Hays, it's a very easy service model because number one, we have students there coming from all over the city for the programming that we provide there, but it's also really easy to access. It's got one of our transportation compounds on it. It's there for the same reason, easy access to pretty much the entire city, but especially the central city. In the case of the Brookhaven site, when we did the facility task force renovations for International and Global Academy, we actually had an option that we were considering to put a clinic in at that time. Again, I'm not entirely sure if I remember who the partner was that we were talking with at that point, but when we started working with that global population, and not that there isn't need across the entire city, but we do tend to find that our new American population has an incredible need for services, including medical, dental, vision, mental health as well. So there has always been a need, desire for additional services to support that community. And so we had space in the building at that time. And again, we ended up not moving forward with the plan that we had on the shelf, but we had a plan that we literally started to outline the services that we thought we would need. We didn't have a provider at that time, and so that was part of the reason why we didn't move forward originally. And then Primary One stepped up and said they were interested in being a partner, and we started talking through the potential there when the grant became available, and here we are. So
wonderful. Thank you for sharing that background. I will say too, and this is just technical, but I think for the benefit of folks that don't work in healthcare, Primary One is a FQHC, a federally qualified health center, and I think that adds some sustainability measure to this operation. So that's exciting. Any other questions about this one?
No, I do think it's another way to get parents into the schools. You know, that's always a challenge of letting them share in the same facilities where their students are going, making it more easy to come to other meetings, other activities that are going on because it's part of the community.
Yep.
Autumn, like you had mentioned, it's really a community resource. That's what our schools are. And so I think it's a good rolling out.
This is a huge step forward. I mean, when we talk about trying to use the schools as true community centers, this goes such a long way. And in addressing some of those obstacles that the kids have, you know, this is the good stuff.
Absolutely.
yeah, maybe the only other plug I'll put out there since we're having this discussion is, so again, just in full transparency, so our two partners that we're working with currently are Nationwide Children's Hospital and Primary One Health. But they're two organizations, and there is not for lack of need across our city. So I don't know that I'm exactly the person to reach out to if there's interest from organizations, but anybody who would be interested in partnering with our district can certainly send an email to either me personally, or probably the better place would be our facilities master plan email. And we can certainly put those organizations in contact with the right department, because I really do think this concept of partnering and helping to provide those wraparound services for our families is going to be absolutely critical for us and our future success. So
I would be remiss if my staff is watching this, which I doubt that they are, to not mention that Ohio Health has partnered with the district in this way for almost 30 years. So we provide mobile health care at East High School, Northland, and South, as well as Walnut Ridge, and it is open to the community, and we see quite a bit of community members. But it's easier from a safety perspective for us to do that because we're doing it on a 50-foot mobile clinic, and so it's external to the building and really honoring the opportunity for our families to feel safe in that space. But it does work. The community does support these clinics, and we see great outcomes with those clinics. And obviously, we've been doing it for a long time. So I'm excited to see more people come forward, and hopefully more people will call the district and say, we want to do one too. And most importantly, I think to all of that is that the state continues to support these efforts with resources to make it possible. So very excited. All right, we have another contract amendment presentation.
Yep, so that'll take us up to item 4.03, and Kurt Keaton will join us here shortly. This is contract amendment number 1 for our criteria engineering vendor, which is Advanced Engineering Consultants. And this is for our phases 12, 13, and 14 projects that, bless you, we mostly completed over this summer and are currently wrapping up. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kurt.
All right, thank you, Alex. Good morning, everybody. So we'll jump right into it. So as Alex said, this is contract amendment number 1 for AEC for phases 12, 13, and 14. So here we have the proposal, excuse me, from AEC for their work. They have their total hours times their fee, which gives us $21,098. And I'll point out most of this this was for phase 12, and 3 of the 4 schools did not finish their on time. So that is why the extra hours were needed there from AEC. So here it is, excuse me, on our legislation, $21,098 again, just showing the additional cost there. And here's the public content portion. This just kind of states that they requested and were contractually due a fee adjustment. And again, we've stated that it was $21,098. This is the working contract. And that should bring us to questions if anybody has any.
I'll expand just a little bit because I think we've been pretty transparent about this, and Kurt kind of touched on it. But so one of our contracts in particular has really struggled to get work complete. So we've been reporting that here every month through the superintendent to our board. And so this contract amendment is almost entirely as a result of that. And so it is our intention. We've been working with this company's bonding company. There's tremendous amount of additional oversight, management, on-site field work, largely supported by this particular vendor, Advanced Engineering Consultants. And so it is our intention to backcharge and recover these costs, but the best way for us to make sure that our interests are supported is to make sure that our consultant under our contract is there doing the work and making sure the work is getting completed correctly and to our satisfaction. And so that's the reason for this amendment.
Questions? No. All right.
So we move on?
Yes, please.
All right, so we'll go back to Ansley for item 4.04, and this will be approval of a deduct change order, which is change order number 2 to our design build firm, in this case, which was Train. And this was for last summer's work, which was our HVAC Phase 10 projects. That, I'll turn it over to Ansley.
Thanks, Alex. This will be a pretty quick one. As Alex said, this was for work that we did last, not even this previous summer, 2 summers ago, summer 2021, for phase 10. This was at Buckeye Middle School, Northtown Elementary School, Parkmore Elementary School, and East Haven Elementary School. We're just finally closing this project out. So this is the change order. As we're reconciling the GMP for this project, the vendor Train is returning $45,000 back to the district, and that's specifically going to be at the East Haven facility. This just shows that legislation, the $45,000 coming back to the district. That was pretty quick and painless. Any questions on that one?
No question. It's good to see money recovered.
Yep.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll add, I think we've mentioned this before, but this is largely just a result of our procedure, which is that so on the additive side, change orders only need to go to board when they're over $50,000, but on the deductive side, they need to come through for approval if they exceed $20,000 of essentially a credit. And so that's the procedural reason why you see this one.
I think those are all of our presentations. Looks like we don't have a community inclusion report. I can't see who from the board is on, but if we have any Board of Education members who would like to add any comments.
I don't believe we do have any board
Okay.
members.
Ainsley, we just see your pretty picture up top. And then I don't think we have an update from the superintendent. Alex, do we have any old business or new business?
We do not.
All right, well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.